Hey everyone, welcome. This is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center. And this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We are live. We're not coordinated, but we're live. And we're right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas on this beautiful Monday evening, August the 5th. And we are ready to bring it to you tonight. I think I got so many things going on right now that maybe it might take me just a second to try to get it all organized and my getting some static on the radio. I've got some pictures I'm trying to show you tonight. It's kind of it's there. We got a lot for you. I'm really excited about tonight because we went through a season there before we hit the summer and everything started kind of got crazy on us. We went through a season of taking health to church on Monday nights. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to take health to church. If you guys haven't ever heard that, it's been a while because it's been a while since we've done this. What we do is we take Sunday's sermon from church. I go to Hillside Church here in Lubbock, and those guys do a fantastic job. It was packed wall to wall. Every seat was taken. There was overflow going on in the back. I was just thinking, man, these people have a way of getting attention and attracting people. And people like going to church there, apparently. And so, but I finally got back to church and got the sermons brought to the show. And so I'm looking forward to it tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. Hang on one second. Had a fan going in here. I'm looking forward to the show tonight. I'm looking forward to getting back to these Monday take health to church nights. I enjoy it. I enjoy going to church with intentions of really listening, breaking down the sermon, really getting into it. And, it fits into what we've been talking about over the last several weeks about, and when we talked about how you learn and that one of the major things about learning is to have an intention, to really have intention when you're learning. And so it's been fun to go to church with the intention of bringing the sermon to the show on Sunday night. And you might ask yourself, why would you do that? Like, why would you take a show and talk about your sermon at church? Like, isn't that kind of personal, or that's not really science? Or maybe that, it's kind of like, oh, you're one of those guys or whatever, right? No, none of that stuff. None of that stuff. This is called Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. And as bad as I do it sometimes, I'm trying to bring you true, authentic, transparent life. It's the real deal. It's not made up. It's not show business for me. This show is not show business for me. This show is about trying to help my community and my world be better by being healthier. That's what this show is about. So I think that it comes down to physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. That's what interferes with our system, is the physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. And mental emotional stresses have a lot of ways to be answered. And I think there's a lot of wisdom that's been passed down from generation to generation to generation in that Bible. I think there was a lot of wisdom when that Bible was written. I think anything that withstands the test of time, whether you believe in it or you don't believe in it, it's been here this story's been around for 2,000 years. The New Testament is a part of it. And it's been all over the globe, and people follow it every single day. And if you use it on any other criteria whatsoever, if you were to use it in any other way to judge something, you would say, hey, does vitamin C work? Does fish oil work? Does exercise work? What are the things that sustain? What are the things that are still here? Yeah, you could go back to the physician's desk reference. The PDR, that's where they put all of the medication in there. And they got to reprint that dude every year because it changes all the time. Like, they used to tell my mom They had all kinds of stuff when I was a kid about what you were supposed to give to kids, and some of that kids ended up with all kinds of problems, or pregnant moms took some sort of drug that they came out with, and then ended up with kids that had extra limbs and all kinds of deformities and problems. Right? Where's Vioxx? How come you haven't heard of Vioxx in a long time? Right? Because 20 years ago, Vioxx was the hottest thing on the market, but they had to get rid of Vioxx because Vioxx killed people, right? Well, the things that I've learned in this book, this Bible, this is still true today, as far as I can tell. As far as I can tell, the teachings that I've learned in that are just as true today as all of this so-called evidence-based science that we're supposed to follow. And I think if we were to take it and look at it from a health standpoint, and we were to jump into this Bible and say, hey, I wonder what it says about health. And I wonder how the teachings that we learn on Sunday have to do with our health. And I can start you off, because I'm going to start you off right off the bat with something, because we in Lubbock, and we are getting, believe it or not, we are getting a big chicken. I don't know if you know what that means, but a big chicken is Shaq's chicken store. Now, I love Shaq. I think Shaq's an awesome basketball player. I think he's funny. I think he's super smart. He's a great businessman. He does a lot of great things for a lot of people. I mean, he bought out whatever, Reebok or something, so he could put them in Walmart so that he could get kids shoes. Like he takes care of people. He's intelligent. He's all those things, right? I'm a big fan of Shaq. But this is the picture. If you guys can't see it, I'm going to blow it up for you right here. This is the picture on Milwaukee in Lubbock, Texas, of the big chicken that opened today. The first 34 people in line got a year's supply of chicken. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if they get one chicken sandwich a month or exactly what exactly that is. But this is the line in front of the store. Like Milwaukee, if you guys aren't from Lubbock, Milwaukee's like a busy place. It's a 6-lane street with a turning lane in the middle. It's a main street in Lubbock, and it's a busy street. And these cars that you see right here, these cars are all in line. They're trying to turn in. They're trying to turn into the parking lot. And you should have seen the people out in front of the big chicken this morning, because if you were one of the first 34 that camped out, so they had them all camping out in front of the store to be the first 34, because now if you're the first 34, you got a chicken for a year, for whatever that means. Maybe it's once a week. I don't know. Maybe it's unlimited. Eat all the chicken you want for a year. But there it is. That's what Brahms looked like during COVID. Same exact thing. People were in the middle of the street. You had to get the sheriff in the street. The police officers had to come because there were so many people trying to get into the big chicken. This thing was wrapped around the store. It's really hard to see, maybe, but you can blow your picture up right there. I don't know. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I don't know. I could count 20 something cars. There were 34 people in line, all to get over to the big chicken. Now let's look at the menu at the big chicken. Let's check out the menu here at the big chicken. What are we going to get? What are we going to get when we go to the big chicken? We're going to get the ultimate. This is some sort of fried chicken sandwich with onion rings all over it, macaroni and cheese, and a white bun, right? Or Uncle Jerome's Nashville Hot chicken sandwich with the bun, all of it, fried chicken, right? Fried chicken and pickles on the original. We got the barbecue alert. We got the whole thing, right? Is any of that on the health and wellness menu? Absolutely not. None of it. None of that stuff is on the health and wellness menu. What's that going to bring to you? It's going to bring to you death and illness You got in line to be the first 34 people in line to line up to get free death and illness. That's what it's going to bring to you. And let's go to the kids, because let's go over here and check out what we got for the kids' meals, right? Because you know you're going to take your kids with you to the big chicken. Here we go. Here's the kids' meals: 2 tenders, choice of crinkle cut fries, fruit, and a soft drink. Or you can get French fries, chicken strips, French fries, and a soft drink. Yeah. Carbonated water, artificial colors and sweeteners, high fructose corn syrup with breaded chicken and French fries. Take your insulin, spike it up the roof with your French fries, deep fried in vegetable oil, which is an omega-6 fatty acid. Right? That ain't something that we want. That's not. I love Check, but there's nothing on the menu. I've looked at the menu. There's nothing on the menu that we can put on. There's not a single thing there that we can put on the menu that to make out like it's going to be healthy, right? And where does that have to do with what does that have to do with the Bible? Well, I'll tell you what it has to do with the Bible. It has to do with Ephesians 4, which is my favorite. And hey, it's only good for me to talk about it, because it just gives them more attention, and that's what people need to build their business. And so it's going to make everybody want to go run over there and see if they can get something up from the big chicken. But what they're going to get is going to be. Let's go to Ephesians 4, and let's read what Ephesians 4 might have to bring with this whole thing. And I'm sure they got some sort of welcoming committee, and everybody was happy that they're here, and everybody, it's like, hey, that's great. So Christ himself gave, this is Ephesians 4:11. So Christ himself gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, and teachers to equip the people for works of service, so that the body of Christ may be built up until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God, and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. That's my mission statement. That's what I've gone with for about the last 20-something years right there. That is what my job is to help equip the people for works of service, that the body of Christ may be built up until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God, and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. Then we will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves, and blown here and there by every wind of teaching and the cunning and craftiness of people in their deceitful scheming. That's what the big chicken is to me. That's what the big chicken is. It's the cunning and craftiness of people in their deceitful scheming, because they're not doing it for the good of the people. They're not doing it for the health of the community. They're not doing it to make your life better. They're gonna have some sort of cunning and craftiness so that they can create a deceitful scheme. Hey, we'll give you a year's supply of poison. We'll give you a year's supply of chicken, fried chicken, and high fructose corn syrup, and white potatoes deep fried in vegetable oil, right? Every health person on the planet will tell you that two of the worst things you could possibly eat is donuts and French fries. That's every health person that I've ever listened to talk. They'll tell you about those things right there, right? So I think I saw it. It was today. I said, "What the heck? We'll just bring it on the show. We'll just share it with you. Don't get caught up with that cunning and craftiness. Don't get caught up with those schemes." I felt really bad for those people that were sitting out there in those lawn chairs trying to get there, trying to see if they could be the first one in line to get a year's supply of processed food and high fructose corn syrup and partially hydrogenated oils and all the things that go along with that place, right? That's not what you want. You're not going to live your life out and your why. You're not going to live out your why by doing that. It's not the way to go. There's better ways to go. What do you mean there's better ways to go? Well, you can you can move into meat and vegetables. You can eat in nuts and berries. Have some raspberries, have some blueberries, have some eggs for breakfast. Have you a sandwich? Get you a grilled chicken sandwich for lunch if you have to. Figure out a way to work around that, right? That's my soapbox for the day. And then now that we've gotten into the soapbox for the day, um, let's move into the bringing health to church. Let's move into the show. Let's move into what I wanted to talk about. So, because it was really fun. It was fun to be back in the groove yesterday and bringing it to you. So, first thing was, I just put up on the. They came back from camp. They had like 2,800 and something kids from the church that I go to went to summer camp. I think they go to Glorieta summer camp up in New Mexico. I went to Glorieta summer camp when I was like 7th, 8th grade, and it's a fun deal. It's a great deal. It's great for the kids, all that sort of thing. And so yesterday I think there was 14 kids that got baptized and one parent. That was pretty cool. The dad got baptized because he wanted to baptize his son. But he didn't want to baptize his son until he got baptized. So he went first. He went first, got baptized. He got out of the water. And then his son was next. And they put his son in the water. And his son got baptized. And I was like, that's pretty cool right there, really. That was pretty cool of him. You guys listening on the radio, I listened to a little bit of the end of that show of Robert Pratt talking about, it was those normal guys that were at church, those normal guys that lived their lives out following Christ, those normal guys that made such an impact on him, right? This guy was just a normal guy, but he knew he ought to get things in order before he decided to baptize his child, and he did, and that was quite inspiring. But they just started the sermon off yesterday with Romans 8:11, and Romans 8:11 it was full of some really cool words. So I thought I'd just read it to you. And if the spirit of him, let's see if I can get it right. And if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, he who raised Christ from the dead raised Jesus from the dead. Wait a minute. Sorry. Let me get this so I can read it more clearly. Let me start over. And that the spirit of whom and if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, he who raised Christ from the dead will also give you life in your mortal bodies through his spirit who lives in you. Let me read it again and see if I can make it a little bit more clear. This is Romans 8:11. And if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, he who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through the spirit who lives in you. That is the first thing that we learned on the first day of chiropractic school. The first day we learned there's a universal intelligence which gives to all matter its properties, thus maintaining it in existence. And innate intelligence is a piece of that universal intelligence that's inside of our bodies. Now, our spirit, our church tells us, our Bible tells us, our taking health to church story tells us that if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead, that's the spirit of God. That's the spirit of God that raised Jesus from the dead, right? Is living in you. There's no other way you're living. Like in my world, it doesn't work. You may not have a relationship. You may have not submitted to that. You may not understand it, but I don't see how that cell can possibly work without that spirit. I don't understand. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm going to stick to it until someone proves me wrong. And I got a really strong feeling that no one's going to ever prove me wrong on that, because I don't know how you possibly can explain life. you can get into embryology, and you can talk about the sperm and the egg meeting, and that two cells becoming one cell. And I talked about a kid today because I did AMIT on a kid that had gotten into a car wreck and broke his spine, and he's paralyzed from the mid back down. And he was wanting to do some stuff AMIT wise, and I said, "You betcha, come on, we'll do it. We'll see what happens." And because I don't know what we know, I don't know that we know what's going to happen with him. I don't know how much progress he's going to be able to make, and I don't think anybody else understands or knows for sure how much progress he's going to be able to make. There's some things that are damaged, but I just don't put it past the Spirit. I don't put it past the Spirit of God to be able to work on a person. I don't put it past the Spirit to say, "Hey, look, come on, go to work, find a way, find a pathway back through there. Figure out a way to create a synapse. Figure out a way to get around it. Figure out a way to make it work. Visualize it in your brain. Fire it." Because I know this. Look, we all know that if we don't do anything better, we're not going to get. We know what we've already gotten. We can tell what we've already got. Like, look, if I don't work on it, I know what I've got, and I know what it's going to get worse from here. But I don't know how good I can be. That's the thing, because I don't know exactly what it takes to get that spirit to do the things that it's going to do. So when I was working on this kid today, he was trying to understand how me poking him in the head, because I don't know if you guys have ever done AMIT before, but AMIT is called Advanced Muscle Integration Technique, and that's just a made-up name that Dr. Bueller made up to describe his technique that he worked on for 50 years or however long, 40 years that he worked on it. And there's some points, and you can look them up. They're Chapman and Bennett points. They're neurovascular and neurolymphatic points on the body, and there's some organ reflex points. There's some acupuncture points. So there's 7 different points, and you take them and you pulse the points with your hand. As the practitioner, I find the origin of the muscle, wherever that origin of the muscle might be, and then I find some point on the head that's the neurovascular point, and I just hold those 2 points. I just hold one and I hold the other one, and then I wait for them to pulse. And then I do that with the insertion of that muscle as well. And I hold on someplace on the torso. So there's points, and they've been mapped out and they've been worked on by lots of guys over lots of time, and it actually works pretty good. It's a pretty good technique, and it does some really cool things. So, but he was having a hard time understanding, like, okay, what are these points? And I said, well, one of them is your liver and one of them is your thyroid. And he's like, and what does this have to do with the muscle in my thigh? And I said, well, the only way I could really explain it is you got to back it up. You got to back it up to those first 13 days. That's the way that me personally, I understand it. You got to back it up to those first 13 days, because when the sperm and the egg cell met and those 2 cells became one cell, all they started to do is divide. And they divided from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 to 64, and they just divided for 13 straight days. They were identical cells for 13 straight days. On day 12, all you were was a clump of cells that were identical. That think about that for a second. On day 12, you were a little clump of cells that were exactly the same. And by day 12, I don't know exactly how many there are. There's thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them. I don't know how many there are at day 12, but they're all identical. All they've been doing is just dividing and just dividing and just dividing and just dividing and just dividing. All of them have been dividing. So it's like, whoa, all of a sudden we got this little clump of cells. And the craziest thing happens on day 13. On day 13, they differentiate. What does that mean? Those cells that are identical, for some particular reason that no human being on earth knows why, They just differentiate, and some of them become bone cells, and some of them become soft tissue cells, and some of them become nerve cells. Like, how does that happen? How does that happen? Anybody out there in the world want to explain that to me? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that happens. There's a spirit, is what I think. What I think is there's an intelligence that's greater than ourself. That spirit lives inside of us. That spirit runs those tissues. That spirit is what gives life to those cells. That spirit is what told that cell on day 12. It wasn't DNA, they're all the same. They're all identical cells. But for some reason, hang on. For some reason, we got to go to a break. So we'll be right back right after these messages. Yeah, I got a really bad connection on my radio tonight, so I think everything is fine on our Facebook page, but there's a really bad connection on the radio, and so I didn't have my clock's not running. I can't really tell what's happening, but that's okay. We're still going to bring it to you. I just got to take a break for just a second. Let me make sure everything's running. Yeah, it looks like we're doing good on social media. So, but how do you? And I don't mean this facetiously, and I'm sure not trying to be a smart aleck, right? I'm serious. I'm really serious. How do you explain the difference between day 12 and day 13? How do you explain how that works? How do you explain when the sperm and the egg cell met and the two cells became one cell? How do you explain that? Like, how do you explain that the two cells came together, became one cell, and then that one cell on day 13 differentiated into something that ended up being a bone cell? When it was identical to the cell that it differentiated that ended up being a skin cell. And it was identical to the cell that ended up being a nerve cell. I don't know. I've read it. I've studied it. I've tried to figure it out. I've read genetics. I read Nature. I listened to those guys. I was reading Nature today, and they found a new particle off of something that they had blown up and tried to figure out. And now all of a sudden they got a new particle that they didn't know was there when they were busting atoms together or some deal. And I was like, yeah, they didn't even know that particle was there. And it's like, yeah. So how do we do that? How do we take that cell from day 12 to day 13? I think it's got to be a spirit. I can't figure out what else it could be. And when I go back and read my Bible, and for you guys that are just joining the show, what we're doing is we're taking health to church tonight, and we're going to break down. We're going to get into Mark here in just a second. Let me get us back on the show. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We're taking health to church tonight. That's what we're doing. We're talking about Romans 8:11. That's where we are right now. So we're talking about the spirit that lives inside of you. And if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, he who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his spirit. That's exactly true. He'll give life to your mortal bodies. Now, that spirit, through his spirit, he'll give life to your mortal bodies by his spirit, which is 100% perfect 100% of the time. There's the foundation right there. That's the thing that's different between chiropractic and medicine. That's the difference between your wellness doctor and your non-wellness doctor. That's the fundamental difference of the very beginning of all of it, is right there in Romans 8:11. There is a spirit that lives in you and gives life to your body. And if there is a spirit that's in you and gives life to your body, if the life that's in your body comes from a spirit, and that's the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead, that's the Spirit of God. And the Spirit of God is 100% perfect 100% of the time. That is what I have worked on for 20 years now. I'm in my 20th year. We're just about to finish it. And for 20 years, every single patient, every single day, all day, every day, always, I have started with that knowledge right there that someone taught me. Did I come up with that? No. I wish I would have been that smart. I'm not. You guys have listened to the show long enough. Y'all figured out that I'm not that smart, right? No, it's not. That's my belief. I believe that's true. And that's what I've seen inside my clinic. And that's what I see with the cells. So if the spirit is perfect and the expression is not perfect, what is happening? Are you broken? Are you interfered with? Do you see the fundamental difference between the two of them? Are you broken or are you interfered with? How can you be broken if your spirit's 100% perfect? You're just interfered with. What's interfering with you? High fructose corn syrup and partially hydrogenated oils and French fries and processed bread, that in artificial colors and sweeteners, and too much stress and not enough exercise and not enough chemistry and the wrong amount, the 6:3 ratio. That's why we do this show. That is why I talk about that stuff. I talk about all that stuff because I'm trying to share with you what the book says that we all say that we read and we all say that we follow. And we're trying to figure out, and then everybody knows it. Everybody that's been to Sunday school knows it. We're going to have that Sunday school prayer on that potluck Sunday school day, where everybody brings those cinnamon rolls and all that stuff and the donuts, right? We're gonna say, has anybody got a prayer request? Oh my gosh. Y'all know it's true. And then people say, yeah, can you pray for my arthritis? Man, can you pray for my SI joint? Can you pray for my diabetes? Can you pray for my chronic disease and the chronic disease of my uncle? My uncle's chronic disease really needs prayer, right? I just get tickled at it. And then as soon as we say amen, we're gonna go through that entire prayer, and then we're gonna say amen. And then what's the next thing someone's gonna say? Pass the cinnamon rolls. Yeah. And after lunch, afterwards, let's go to Big Chicken. Why don't we just all run to Big Chicken? Why don't we get the line out in the middle of the street and see if we could let's go sleep there tonight so that we can get in line and so that we can get a year's supply of free chicken so that we can interfere with the Spirit of God inside of our bodies to create disease and death and destruction inside ourselves. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. Now, why? Why would we do that? Why did I do that? Why do I still do that sometimes with certain things? Why, as a human species, do we do that? Because we don't have our eyes set on anything big enough not to do it. I was having this conversation with Leslie this morning. I was like, I was in here in the gym working out this morning, and I was by myself, and I was just thinking about why I didn't do that for 15 years. Why? I really, honestly, and truly do not understand it. I cannot explain it. I don't have a reason for it. I just don't understand why I didn't do it. Like, it's not any harder to do than it wasn't. Like, living the way that I'm living right now is not any harder to live than the way that I lived 2019 and before. It's not any different. It's not any different not eating sugar than it was eating sugar, other than the fact that you just have something that you're not going to compromise on. I'm just not going to compromise on that. Like it's just it's but having saying that, it's not complicated. It's really not. It's not difficult whatsoever. It's not. It's just there's a place for me, and I'm trying to reach that place, and I'm trying to strive, and I think you are too. I think that's why you listen to this show. I think the few of you that actually listen to this show, I think you're trying to do the same exact thing, and I just really want to encourage you to do it. I want to encourage you to get your eyes on something big enough that will make you move yourself forward every single day. I want to encourage you to so the things that I share with you are just simply trying to share with you the building blocks, the nuts and bolts of the things that interfere with our spirit, that interfere with the expression of our spirit through our flesh. That's what our flesh is. It's the canvas. It's the canvas that our spirit uses to paint the picture of us. That's what our flesh is. And our flesh is governed by certain physical laws on this earth, like gravity. Gravity, right? That's a physical law. It was set up in the first 6 days. It was set in motion in the first 6 days, and it never has changed. It never has changed ever in all of time. It's never changed, right? That's how it works. And the same thing goes. The same thing goes with processed food. We didn't have processed food for several thousand years. We just had food. There was no such thing as processed food for several thousand years. That's a new invention of mankind, is processed food. We just now got that. So what does it do to us? It creates every disease known to man. And then what? Then we can get a drug to treat our disease, right? And so what is the incentive? What is the incentive for the people that sell the drugs to get us to stop? One of my last patients of the day said, "Hey, did you take that shot?" And I said, "No, I didn't take the shot." And he just looked at me and he's like, "I know 3 people that have died of weird circumstances, and I took the shot, and I'm worried about the fact that I took the shot." And I'm like, "Why'd you take the shot?" "Because I thought I was supposed to." "Right. Because no one said anything different. Because no one teaches me about health." "Why did I not take the shot?" "I didn't take the shot because it's not health. If it was health, I would have taken the shot, but it's not health. So I didn't take it. And I'm not taking the next one because it's not health." Right? So what can we do? We can work ourselves through physical, chemical, and mental emotional stresses. We can address them so that we can move ourselves forward and be the person that we're going to be, which now leads us into what the sermon was all about this week. And I know you're thinking, boy, it took you a long time to get there. Yes. Mark 10:45. Mark 10:45 is where they started. And then they jump back to Mark 10:35. So, and it was interesting because I had a little bit different take. I think the story was the same, but I had a little bit different take of the motivation than what Brad was talking about yesterday. And obviously he studied it for a long time, so I will submit that maybe my take is not quite as solid as his take, but I'm going to give you my take anyway, because it's the way I believe it. So this is Mark 10:45. "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Right? When we decide that we're going to serve for other people, and we really get our mind on serving for other people, and we really start to deep dive into what that means, it gives us a why. It gives us a reason. And that probably is the answer. Just thinking about it, that's probably the answer to the question, I don't understand why I did that, is probably, and what's crazy? It's one of the very first, it's one of the 22 Parker principles that we learned at Parker College. Dr. Parker used to always talk about develop a passion to serve that's bigger than your um, something to survive. Uh, a compassion to serve the bigger than your is a word. There's a word for it right there. Need to survive. Develop develop a passion to serve. I'm gonna look at it because that's what this sermon is about, and it's so cool that Dr. Parker used to say that. Yeah, develop a passion to serve that's better than your compassion. No, that's not it. I'll get it right here. Give me 1 second. Develop a compassion to serve that is greater than the compulsion to survive. That's it, right there. Become a servant. Become a servant. And that's what Mark 10:45. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. But then what they did is they went back up to verse 35 and they talked about kind of where we fit in that. And what is our place? So many people don't know their why. Right? So many people really get lost in their why. They don't know. They'll tell me, Jason, well, I'm not for sure what my why is. I don't really know exactly what it is I'm supposed to do. And 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 so they went back up to 35, and it says, then James and John, the son of Zebedee, came to him. Teacher, they said, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. What do you want me to do for you? He asked. Jesus said that to James and John. What do you want me to do for you? Now, we all know that he knew what was coming. He could see that this whole thing was happening. And they replied, let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory. And he said, you don't know what you're asking. Jesus said, you can drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with. Can you? Can you drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with? We can, they answered. Jesus said to them, you will drink the cup I drink and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with. But to sit at my right or my left is not for me to grant. Those places belong to those for whom they have been prepared. When the 10 heard about this, they became indignant with James and John. Indignant means they had strong displeasure or were offended. Jesus called to them together and said, you know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be a slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. And I just thought about that because the take that they got, that they said that John and James were coming out of a place of arrogance or wanting to be seen. And I'm not exactly sure of that. Maybe that's true. Maybe they were asking to be at a place that they couldn't be at. Maybe they had different. I think maybe they had a different motivation, but that's not really the point. The point is that what I really took from that is that you can do the same things that someone else does, but there is a place for you. There's a place for each one of us. And I think that I think that we don't really understand that. I don't think we understand there is a place for us. There's a reason that you exist. There's a lot of guys in health and wellness that will talk about that the universe doesn't waste energy on flesh that doesn't have a purpose. Like the Dr. DeMartini does a good job of breaking that down. He talks about that a lot. He's like, look, if you're still alive, you have a purpose. Because the universe, and Einstein said the same thing. It's not a universe of chance, right? This is a universe of order, and God is a God of order. So there's a reason that you still exist. There's a reason that I still exist. Otherwise, the spirit wouldn't waste its time on this flesh. Now that's philosophical. I don't know if there's a scripture in the Bible that will support that. But I like the idea of it. I like the teaching of it. It's like, okay, if there's a reason that I'm still here, if there's a reason that I'm alive, if I'm alive, there must be a reason that I'm alive. And if there's a reason that I'm alive, that means I have a purpose. And that's what Jesus was trying to say. He's like, but to sit at my right and left is not for me to grant. Well, what does that mean? If it's not for him to grant, that means that that's already been written as to who's going to sit at his right and his left, right? These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared. Who prepared them? That's the question. God prepared them. Prepared them for their place. And Jesus said, those places are for those for whom that they have been prepared. Well, that means, to me, what that means from a health and wellness standpoint is that I have a purpose. I have a reason to be here. You have a reason to be here. It's not by happen chance that we're here. It's not by accident that I was born in Winsboro, Texas in 1970. It wasn't an accident that I got into this place. And I went back and looked. In Jeremiah, and over the weekend, before I was in my mother's womb. Let me look it up again. It's not silence. Let me see if I can. I don't remember which one it was in Jeremiah, so that's what's taking me just a second. Let me look it up this way. Jeremiah 1:5, yes. So we'll take it to Jeremiah 1:5 and we'll just read that right quick. It's really interesting, these things, right, that are said. So for Jeremiah 1:4 says, the word of the Lord came to me saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. That, okay. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. My question, since I've read that, the very first time I ever read that was, how long was that? How long before he formed me in the womb did he know me? Was it 1,000 years? Was it 1 year? Was it 5 seconds? How long was it before that? Where was I before I was here? And before he formed me in the womb, he said this to Jeremiah, so I would guess that he had an intention for me too. I'm not saying, maybe not. Maybe all the rest of us are here by happenstance, and Jeremiah was actually directed to be here. Okay, fine. You want to make that argument? No, I don't buy it, but it's fair enough, right? So before you were read it that way. Before you were in your mother's womb, he knew you. The Spirit of God God himself knew you before you were even in the womb. So, and before you were born, he set you apart. How many of us have ever believed that? How many of us have ever believed that before we were born, we were set apart? There's only one Jason Clemmons that's ever lived in the history of mankind. There's only one of me. Maybe not Jason Clemmons. There's only one of me. I'm the only one that's ever been here before. That is me. And you are the only one that's ever been here before as you. You are the authentic self. You are the one and only you that's ever been here. So what do you bring to the table? Why do I care if you're healthy? Because I'm selfish. Because I know, I truly, really believe, I really, honestly, 100% believe that you are a special human being that has a purpose. There's something that you contribute to this time and place. There's something you contribute. Some of you contribute crap. That's awesome. You contribute your balance. You bring death and destruction into the world. You just bring crap into the world. Some of you don't believe that before you were in your mother's womb, he knew you. And some of us, I should say us, all of us, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm in that category. So, some people out there, let's just say it that way, them, it's always easier to say them, right? Some of those people out there don't believe that. So what they do is they have all these cunning and craftiness and deceitfulness so that they can get everything that they can get out of life. It's all about me. It's all about what I can get for myself. Those are the people we got to watch out for because they're not serving the rest of us. The rest of us are servants. And if we're servants and we understand that we were meant to be servants, there's a place for us to serve. And in order for us to serve, we would be a better servant if we were healthier. We would be a better servant if we were healthier. And there's a place for me to do that. And I have found that out to be true over the last 5 years. Over the last 5 years that I finally, as ridiculous as that sounds, I've been a chiropractor for 20 years. And the last 5 years, I finally figured out, dude, there's some things you can do that makes you a better servant. There's a lot of things you can do to make you a better servant. And the practice that I have now versus the practice that I had 5 years ago is tremendously different. It's tremendously different between those two things. And if you're lost out there and you need a place and you need some help or you need some encouragement, maybe this show encourages you a little bit. If you're lost and you don't know what to do, just know that before you were here, you were set apart and there's a purpose for you to be here. And that if you will put your eyes on that and just start going forward and just start serving people and just be a servant to all of us, your life will be better. That's what I really think those two things, you have a spirit of God inside of you. That's how you live. And if you move your feet forward and you can go forward with it, you will be better. And that will make you healthier. It will keep you away from all the cunning and craftiness of man. It will get you on a road that you can feel better about yourself, about your family. It will move you to the places that you want to go if you can tie into that. Man, that went faster than I thought. I love this preaching thing. You guys have a great night. I'll be speaking over at the Wise Group tomorrow night. So anybody who wants to listen to me live, we're going to talk about seasonal changes over there. We'll have a rerun show on the radio. We will not be doing a Facebook show tomorrow night. I'll be over there live. If you want to come over there to Lake Ridge Chapel Memorial Center, and you can catch us over there. Otherwise, you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you on Wednesday.